Hi everybody, I'm Eternal Reading. We're back again for a short story review. The story that I'm talking about today is a story by Clive Barker called The Midnight Meat Train. This isn't going to be a fairy tale, this one, but The Midnight Meat Train, and it comes in The Midnight Meat Train. It comes in the book collection, The Books of Blood, volumes 1 to 3, but there is also another collection, and the story that I'm talking about is in volume 1 in the first book of the Books of Blood. And why I'm doing this story is a short story review, something based on trains, because there's a lot of booktubers and a couple that I follow and subscribe to, Derek Green and Infinite Text, Andrea, and I seen that they were doing this March on the Rails, and I thought it was interesting because it's different from March of the Mammoths, which seems to take over a lot of the sort of projects for March and BookTube. I thought, I'm not going to straight dive on board the train, as I said in the previous video, but I'm going to do a short story review and a novel based on trains for the month of March. And the first one is Clive Barker's The Midnight Meat Train. Now, story context. The Midnight Meat Train is a story about a guy called Lane Kaufman who lived in Atlanta, but he always wanted to go to New York. New York was his palace of delights, as he called it, referenced in the book. He wanted his whole life, 20 odd years, he's been wanting to go to this palace of delights. But when he gets there, he realizes it's not the palace of delights. It bred death instead of pleasure, and the behaviour of New York City was less than ladylike, is what Lady Liberty and all. He thought it was going to be this dream home for him, and he gets there, and it's anything but. And in the underground railway stations, subways, I think they call them, there's been a lot of deaths happening, a lot of bodies being found, butchered in bits, and it's all over the news and people are talking about it, and there's that fear in the back of their heads. But these subways still need to be used. I'm lucky in my country, our trains are all outside. We don't have to worry about going in the underground subway. But after reading the Midnight Meat Train, I would maybe think twice about going down to them underground subways late at night, because some of them, you see them in the movies and all, they can be a bit dodgy. But I don't have to worry about that in this country. That's just the big cities and America, I think, and New York anyway. But that's what this. So he's going to this place thinking it's going to be delights and great and all, and it's anything but. But when he gets there, he has to take the subway home, and on his way home, he bumps into a character called Mahogany, who is a butcher of people. That's his life, and he's been doing it his whole life, and he's like a Jack the Ripper. He's not, it's his job. It feels like it's his job, and it is his job, and you'll find more of that out later on in the story. And you'll see that there's more to it than just a tale of horror and body horror and butcher. And Clive Barker's like that. Clive Barker's stories, yes, you're going to get body horror, you're going to get visceral blood and guts and on the edges of your seat sort of storytelling, where it's like watching a horror movie where a guy's chasing him down and going to kill and bodies everywhere and blood and guts, and yes, it can be violent. Clive Barker is like that, but he's also puts a lot of mythology into his work, and in the Midnight Meat Train, when you get to the second half, it does get very mythological. It's not just a man that's going mad killing folk for the sake of killing folk. There is a background to it, and that's when Clive Barker does his magic, in my opinion. It's when he starts to mingle myth and magical stuff into his work, and that's what he does in all his books are like that. All his short stories, even his horror, and his main horrors, these ones, and the Damnation Game, and a few others, the Hellbound Heart. But then he goes into different places. If you fancy picking up Clive Barker, you're diving into a great writer with some masterpiece novels, very big. And magic is one that my favourite. But with the Midnight Metrian, it's a short story that's very brutal, very descriptive, and very interesting at the end. And it's exciting. You know, it's exciting too. Clive Barker, they put Clive Barker in the same category as Stephen King, James Herbert, and all, or is it James Herbert? Horror writers. But he's different. He's a bit more than that. Clive Barker's a lot different from Stephen King. In my opinion, he's better. He hasn't written many things in recent years because of his illness, but he's a better writer. I don't care what anybody says, I'll defend that forever. Stephen King is nowhere near in the same level as Clive Barker when it comes to actually putting words on page. I know Stephen King's more famous and he's wrote more work, but nah. I've read lots of Stephen King and I've read all of Clive Barker. And I, as I say, if you're interested in trying a great horror writer that's more modern, go for it. Clive Barker's The Books of Blood. And that wee short story, The Midnight Meat Train, it's hard to do reviews for short stories because I don't want to ruin it. I don't really want to spoil anything. But just know that in New York City, when he gets to the subways, it's not the palace of pleasure and the palace of delight as Kaufman thought. You know, he got there thinking it was all going to be great, and it turned out anything but. But you also get in the mindset of the murderer as well, Mahogany, and he's fighting against time as well with his own body. He thinks he's losing his age, and there's that wee part in it as well. He's losing his age. Like, you know, he's not as quick as he used to be, and he might lose his job. We'll say that, and that's how I'll end The Midnight Meat Train. But yes, I'll say it again. This is the short story review of The March on the Rails that I wanted to do. As I say, it's more a shout out to these other channels, and if you follow me and you don't know anything about it, check their channels out. I'll put their descriptions or their name in the description. They're going to be doing a lot more than I am, I would imagine. And yeah, if you're interested in trains and stories like that, you know, follow them. You know, you'll get some good suggestions. Another story that I'm hoping to bring out here in March for a review, part for the March on the Rails, is China Mabel's Railsea. China Mabel's they call it the new weird, but I don't know. It's just his own thing to me. I don't know. I wouldn't call it the new weird, but he's all right. Some of it's hit and miss for me. Or China Mabel's hit and miss for me. He gets very political and all some stuff, and I can't really be bothered most of it. But it's his imagination. He's got a good imagination, and this one's a bit more YA, I think. So it could be interesting. It's about a desert of, instead of the sea, it's desert with railway lines, and instead of chasing a big white whale, they're chasing a big white mole, and that sounds interesting to me. So I like weird, you know. So that'll be my book review for March of the Rails in this month. And yeah, as I say, definitely check out Clive Barker. He's a great writer, and he's still alive. And I hope he releases. He's got a lot of unfinished work, and I hope he releases it. But if not, we still have the Books of Blood, and we still have a Magica and Weave World, which in my opinion is his best work he's ever done. Definitely, in my opinion. But he's done more. But yeah, check him out, and you'll be in for a treat. All the best, everybody.